Hi guys, today I want to talk about whether Prince Rhaegar was ever resurrected. But first, I want to talk about the Jaqen Rhaegar is not Rhaegar Targaryen. Some fans believe that Jaqen is Rhaegar. Maybe it's because his name rhymes with the Rhaegars, or maybe it's because of his hair. Jaqen in the book has shiny long straight hair, colored white on one side and red on the other, like silver and red are the colors of Rhaegar's. But the book never talks about the color of Jaqen's eyes. Rhaegar has this distinctive eye color, deep purple or indigo, which is an important factor in forming Rhaegar's character. But we're not sure what Jaqen's eye color is. Jaqen is a handsome young man who always smiles. Rhaegar was handsome as well, but Rhaegar we know was melancholic at times. Many fans also point out the emotional links between Jaqen and Arya. Rhaegar loved Lyanna, and Arya is described by Ned as being wild and untamed, just like her aunt Lyanna. So if Jaqen or Rhaegar, Arya could be the constant reminder of Lyanna for him, and thus easily provoke the sense of duty of care in him. And maybe that's why Jaqen spends so much time with Arya. But I think this is more like so in the show, since in the book it is the kindly old man who greets and takes charge of Arya's training at the House of Black and White. There's this one thing though, that I can draw a little parallel between Jaqen and Red Robe in Red Robe's Dream, a Native American story that was introduced in one of my videos. Red Robe fell in love with Mummy the Wing, who was betrothed to Three Bulls. When Mummy agreed to run away with Red Robe, Three Bulls stabbed him to death and cremated his body. But Red Robe's oldest and closest friend, Talking Rock, resurrected him with 4 arrows. Three Bulls eventually let Mummy go, Red Robe and Mummy got married, and they lived happily ever after. There's this one thing though about Red Robe that reminded me of the fact that Jaqen speaks Lorathi. The way Red Robe speaks slightly changes after he's resurrected. Before Red Robe died, he used to say I when referring himself, but after he was resurrected, he would say I, Red Robe instead. Well, it's not exactly the same as Lorathi, but I thought it was that small change in speech pattern that was big enough to inspire George to come up with something like Lorathi. However, it is important to note that Talking Rock, the oldest and closest friend of Red Robe's, was there when Red Robe died and was cremated, but Sir Arthur Dayne, the oldest and closest friend of Rhaegar's, was not there when Rhaegar died. While Rhaegar was at the Battle of Trident, Sir Arthur Dayne was at the Tower of Joy. Then, if Rhaegar were resurrected, who might have brought him back to life? Could that be part of Lyanna's promise me Ned thing? Maybe Lyanna knew how to resurrect Rhaegar and told Ned to protect her son Jon Snow from Robert Baratheon and resurrect Rhaegar after he was cremated? Then, if Rhaegar were resurrected by Ned instead of Sir Arthur Dayne, why did he ever decide to become a faceless man, an assassin? Maybe the next story might give us a clue to why Rhaegar might have become a faceless man. The Camp of the Ghosts. There was a young man who loved his wife dearly. After they'd been married for a time, they had a little boy. But his wife grew sick, and despite all the effort he had made, she died. He and his son could not stop mourning for their loss, and finally, the young man decided to go find his wife and bring her back. So he left his little boy with the baby's grandmother and started his journey. On the 4th night of his journey, he dreamt that he went into a little lodge where an old woman lived. The old woman asked him, "Why are you here?" The young man replied, "I'm mourning for my wife. She died some time ago, and I'm looking for her." The old woman said, "Over by that far butte beyond lives another old woman. Go to her, and she'll give you power to continue your journey." The young man awoke and went on toward the next butte. When he got there, an old woman appeared and said, "You are looking for your wife who is now in the ghost country. It is a very hard thing for you to get there, but if you act as I tell you, you may succeed." And then the old woman brought one of his relations from the ghost camp. She said, "When you get to the ghost camp and someone asks you, 'Where are you going? Who told you to come here?' you must answer, 'My grandmother, who is standing out here with me, told me to come.' They will try to scare you, but do not be afraid." So the young man went with his relation to the ghost camp. When he got there and was asked what he was doing there, he answered as the old woman had told him. As he passed on through the camp, the ghost tried to frighten him with fearful sights and sounds, but he kept up a brave heart. Now, he came to a big lodge that belonged to the chief ghost. The chief ghost came out and spoke to him, asking where he was going. The young man told him he was looking for his dead wife, and that his little boy at home was crying because he's alone with no mother. Having never seen a real person in the land of the dead, the chief ghost pitied him and invited the man's father-in-law and other relations to his lodge and asked them to give him back his wife. The ghosts talked among themselves, and one of them said to the young man, "If you stay here with us for 4 nights, we will give you a warm pipe and give you back your wife." The young man agreed and stayed with the ghost for 4 nights, and then he was given the warm pipe and got his wife back. And the chief ghost said, "Now, be very careful. Tomorrow, you and your wife will start on your journey homeward. Your wife will carry the warm pipe, and some of your relations will go along with you for 4 days. During this time, you must keep your eyes shut. Do not open them, or you will return here and be a ghost forever. Your wife is not now a person, but on the 4th day, you will be told to look, and when you have opened your eyes, you will see that she has become a person and that your ghost relations have disappeared." The young man's father-in-law also spoke to him and said, "Do not whip your wife, nor strike her with a knife, nor hit her with fire. If you do, she will vanish before your eyes and return here." The young man and his wife left the ghost country and headed home, and on the 4th day the wife said to her husband, "Open your eyes." He looked about him and saw that his wife had become a person and that those who had been with them had disappeared. He was so happy when he made it to his camp. He told everyone his tale, how he got the warm pipe and his wife back. But not long after this, once in the night, the young man told his wife to do something, and when she did not begin at once, he picked up a brand from the fire and raised it. Not that he intended to strike her with it, but he made as if he would, when all at once she vanished and was never seen again. Okay, I think the ghost camp is the House of Black and White, where God of Death is worshipped, and the chief ghost is the kindly old man who is also nappy in the Blackfeet creation myth that was introduced in my last video. And maybe George gave the kindly old man a worm coming out of his eye hole instead of one pipe. And the young man in the story had to keep his eyes shut, like Arya's eyes were shut at the House of Black and White. If Jaqen were Rhaegar, there could be only one reason why he became a faceless man, to bring his wife Lyanna back to life. He could have made some kind of contract with the House of Black and White, and the deal could have been Vala Dohaeris, all men must serve. Like, if he served as a faceless man for a certain period of time, he could have Lyanna back in return. But the problem is, we know that the poisoned water in the sanctuary of the House of Black and White is given out to those who are suffering and come to seek the release of death, and it has some kind of healing properties, as we have seen with Arya after she was attacked by Rafe. But we never heard anyone having been brought back to life at the House of Black and White. And making a deal like that is not so Rhaegar. Rhaegar was someone who loved his silver-stringed harp more than his lance. He was honorable, noble, and dutiful, and he was loved by the small folk during his lifetime. In order to earn the love of his people, he must have cared about them and loved them as well. I don't think he would ever agree to go out and kill whoever the House of Black and White tells him to, just because he wants Lyanna back. And we all know Rhaegar was bookish. If he were resurrected, he could have gone to the Citadel to acquire knowledge about how to resurrect someone instead of going to the House of Black and White and becoming an assassin. And isn't it odd that Jaqen never visited Jon Snow at the Winterfell? I mean, Jon Snow is his son. If Jaqen were Rhaegar, wouldn't he ever try to see his son at least once a year, if not once a month? And if he did so, George would have left something in the book to indicate Jaqen's being part of Jon's life. I mean, George put some clue in the book for fans to eventually figure out R plus L equals J. But we see nothing of J equals J's father. I can see a bit of why people see Jaqen as Rhaegar, but there's something off about Jaqen being Jon's father. It does not add up. I don't think Jaqen is Rhaegar. Then who is Jaqen? I think Jaqen is Syrio Forel, and Jaqen is one of many faces Syrio wears. That is why Jaqen told Arya that she killed the wrong man when Arya killed Meryn Trant, who she believed was responsible for Syrio Forel's life. Last time we saw Syrio was at the Red Keep. With his wooden sword, he defeated or killed 5 Lannister men, and then attacked Meryn Trant. But his sword was cut in half, and Arya fled. No one knows for sure what happened to Syrio after that. But Jaqen seemingly knows that Meryn Trant did not kill Syrio that day, and plus, he knew right off Arya was a girl, not a boy. So I can sort of connect the dots here. But there's nothing to indicate that Jaqen is Jon's father. Then if Jaqen is not Rhaegar, where is Rhaegar? I think Rhaegar died at the Battle of the Trident. I don't think he was ever resurrected at all. Rhaegar and Lyanna's story is important because their son Jon Snow is our star boy. Like in the story of Starbright Feather Woman, his arrows are high. Nevertheless, Rhaegar was someone who was well aware of and firmly believed in prophecies, and the melancholy air that often cast shadow on Rhaegar must have been that Rhaegar knew he was not Azor Ahai, but his son Jon Snow is, and that he had to die in order to fulfill the prophecy. I think Rhaegar believed he himself was Nissa in the prophecy. He must have figured out Nissa does not necessarily have to be a woman. Nissa bared her chest to let the Lightbringer penetrate her. Rhaegar let Robert Baratheon smash his breastplate at the Battle of the Trident. Robert Baratheon said Rhaegar was murmuring a woman's name as he was dying, and many fans believe that the name was Lyanna, but I think the name was Nissa. If it were Lyanna, Robert could have said Rhaegar dared say Lyanna's name as he was dying, instead of just a woman's name. And it could also be that Rhaegar thought that was the price he had to pay for causing trouble by running away with a woman who was betrothed to someone. While he himself was married to another, he was married to Elia Martell when he met Lyanna. Out of the guilty conscience that flooded him and sense of duty he had as prince, I think he sacrificed himself to Robert. Rhaegar was someone who could have beat Robert Baratheon. He was a Grey Knight. He even defeated Sir Arthur Dayne at the tourney at Harrenhal. But I think he let Robert kill him for whatever the price he thought he had to pay, and he knew that was the end for him. I think both Rhaegar and Lyanna died like the two lovers in the Legend of the Violet. The two loved each other and died together at the end. Then, what is the significance of today's story, The Camp of the Ghost? I think this story part inspired George to complete the House of Black and White storyline and create characters like Jaqen and the Kindly Old Man. But at the same time, this story part inspired George to complete Jon's storyline, not Rhaegar's. I don't think George ever meant to have the beautiful Rhaegar back as an assassin. Then how does this story help to complete Jon's storyline? Remember this line by Aemon Targaryen? A Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing. I think the Targaryen alone in the world is the little boy who's alone with no mother in the Camp of the Ghost. And the little boy is not Jon Snow. I think the Targaryen alone in the world is foreshadowing the child of Dany and Jon. Together, they'll have only one child, and that only child of Dany and Jon is a boy, unlike what some of the Season 8 leaks suggest. I don't think Dany will give birth to a baby girl. I personally wish it were a girl though. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think Dany will give birth to a girl instead of a boy? And do you think Rhaegar is alive, or do you think he's dead like I believe? Please let me know what you think of all this in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And my next video will be about Sandor Clegane in Native American myths and legends. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll be back for more. Thanks for watching. Bye!